The town of Farmington. Respecting history, planning the future.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to the Farmington Town Council meeting and ask you to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to ask you to all remain standing for a minute. It's customary, and I think not just custom, but it's really a wonderful tribute, that many times when the town, our community, loses a member that has been a citizen that has been very involved in the town, we like to have a moment of silence for them. And tonight I would like to do this in honor of Jack Matava. It's said in the paper that Jack Matava's generosity was the hallmark of his personality. He was a true public servant. Jack was selfless, and these are my putting together, not just the paper, but Jack was selfless in giving back to the community, whether it was his time, his money, or his office as an elected official, his time as an elected official. Jack served as an elected official on the TPZ for over 10 years in town, but he was involved in many, many, many organizations and with many, many people in town in many ways. His death represents a true loss for the Farmington community. He had a great love for Farmington and all of the people in it. He really had the heartbeat of the community in his hands. So I'd like us just to bow our heads for a minute and please pay a tribute to Jack. Thank you. Our next order of business is presentations and recognitions. And I'd like to ask CJ to go to the podium, and Lisa Johnson, would you please come up?
Well, I have the good fortune to read this proclamation for my friend Lisa. And beforehand, if there's anyone out there who doesn't happen to know what the Stanley Whitman House on High Street is, Lisa could explain it, but I'll give my brief summary. The house was built circa 1720. In 1935, it was donated by the Barney family to what is now known as the FVGLA, along with $35,000 to keep it as a historic house and museum. From 1935 to 1998, it muddled by without Lisa. From 1998 on, Lisa joined. In pre-Lisa era, there was one school program. The 8th graders came over for the Padea project. Post-Lisa, we have 14 school districts bringing approximately 4,000 students through every year. Incredible growth there. Pre-Lisa, there were approximately 800 people who visited annually. Post-Lisa, almost 18,000 people visit annually. Pre-Lisa, there were 2 separate buildings, the house and an education center. Post-Lisa, they're housed under one roof. We have 2 classrooms, a library, and a gallery, and outside historically authentic gardens. So this is all a tremendous tribute to the love, time, and effort that Lisa has put in there. Over the course, when this house was donated, it was donated as the old Whitman House. It later became known as the Farmington Museum, and more recently has been called the Stanley Whitman House. Well, I'd like to propose a new name. I think we should call it the house that Lisa built. With that, I'll read the proclamation. Whereas the Stanley Whitman House is the 4th oldest existing structure and the oldest 18th century structure in modern-day Farmington, and whereas the Stanley Whitman House became a National Historic Landmark in 1960 for its outstanding historic significance, and whereas the Stanley Whitman House is a living history center and museum that teaches through the collection, preservation, research, and dynamic interpretation of history and culture of early Farmington. And whereas the Stanley Whitman House stewards an important period of American history by preserving a nationally significant history building and landscape, and values its role in the Farmington Visitor Center and a gateway to Farmington's heritage and historic site. And whereas Lisa Johnson has served as executive director of the Stanley Whitman House since 1998 and will retire March 15th, the day after tomorrow, and after 20 years of dedicated service. Whereas Lisa Johnson, through dynamic leadership and a passion for the authentic delivery and preservation of Farmington's heritage, has effectively managed the strategic plan, mission delivery, and daily operations of the Stanley Whitman House, and has significantly enhanced the museum's infrastructure and delivery of services and programs. And whereas Lisa Johnson has grown the number of visitors to the Stanley Whitman House from 1,800 in 1998 to 17,500 annual visitors in 2017, and increased the educational programs to reach over 4,000 students across Connecticut. Now, therefore, the Town Council hereby commends Lisa Johnson for her excellent work on behalf of the community, and we hereby thank her for 20 years of selfless dedication and immeasurable contributions and commitment to the town of Farmington and its residents. The Town Council hereby extends to Lisa Johnson best wishes in her future endeavors, dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 13th day of March, 2018. Nancy W. Nickerson, Chair, Farmington Town Council.
I just have a comment I wanted to make in giving Lisa this hat. Lisa and I began here together serving people in the 1990s. We have a couple things in common. One, we both went to Hartwood College, but two, we both were brunettes at the time. So, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Here you
Thank
go.
you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much. Can I say just a couple?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's been a great honor to lead Stanley Whitman House and to serve this community, and to further the appreciation for the shimmering history that this town embodies. In almost every part of our American history experience, Farmington has been in the forefront, and the history here is delightful and spectacular. Bringing that history to people in our own community and to people in New England and even nationally has been a real joy. I hope you all are proud of this history. It's important. I'm proud of the fact that this town preserves history and has created history as our brand. History is what Farmington is, and I've been very proud to work as a part of it. Thank you very much for this honor.
Thank you. That's great. And we know you're not going anywhere. You're going to be involved in energizing us all for the future of the history in Farmington. So, yes. Yes, okay. Thank you very much. Next, we have the public hearing. Paula?
A public hearing will be held on Tuesday, March 13th, 2018, at 7:05 in the Town Hall Council Chambers on the Town Manager's 2018-19 recommended budget, dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this first day of March 2018. Kathy Nate Egan, Town Manager.
And I would like to let everyone know in the public in the audience that tonight is the public hearing. And what that means is the town manager and the Kathy Greeter, the Board of Education, will present their budgets to us. There is no discussion about it tonight. It's a presentation. And we will have public comment on the budget after the budget presentations. Thank you. Kathy.
Good evening, everyone. I present for your review the town manager's recommended budget for fiscal year 18-19. The general fund budget includes the recommended spending for the town, for the school system, for debt service, and for capital improvements. The recommended budgets for Westwood's Golf Course, the Recreation Fund, and the solid waste collection and its disposal are also included for your review. The Town Council set a target in which the town expenditure portion of the budget would increase no more than 2.25% to 2.75% above current expenditures. Along with the Town Council's budget target, the town's strategic plan and the town's capital improvement policy were the policy guidelines at the forefront when formulating the budget. This budget building process focused on the following two funding themes. Maintain current service levels. This budget continues to fund accounts at levels that will enable the service levels to remain at high standards. Maintain current capital funding levels. The cost of maintaining the town's infrastructure through the capital budget is a necessary expense that has to be recognized. The cost of not maintaining the town's property, buildings, and equipment will have a significant negative long-term impact. This year's appropriation meets our capital improvement policy guidelines. I will now review the expenditure portion of the town's budget in detail. General administration. The general administration group of accounts includes expenses for the administrative branch of the town government and funding for nonprofit organizations that the town supports. Some areas to note. The salary reserve account in the personnel budget will cover salary adjustments for non-union staff and members of SEIU, IAFF, IBPO, and ASME. All salary adjustments, except contractual step increases, are in this account this year. Contracts will expire on June 30th, 2018, and are in the process of being negotiated. The contribution to the library is $2,539,535, which is a 2.4% increase above the current budget levels. A new position is proposed in this budget, and an information technology support specialist will assist the IT manager in the support and maintenance of the town's technology program. The proposed budget request for this group of accounts is $6,677,403, or a 6.4% increase above the current budget. Public safety. The public safety group of accounts includes fire, police, emergency medical and ambulance services, dispatching, and building inspection functions. Some areas to note. The fire hydrant fees are projected to increase $33,094, or 3.6% for the upcoming fiscal year. The police fleet account includes funding for 3 new 24-hour patrol vehicles and a lease payment for 1 new unmarked police vehicle. This account also funds lease payments for previously purchased unmarked vehicles. This is in line with our police vehicle replacement plan. Restructuring in the police department has resulted in the elimination of a records supervisor position. A lieutenant's position has been added to the Special Projects Community Police Unit. There is a net dollar savings to the department with this restructuring. This restructuring will also allow more focus on emergency management and school and town safety matters. The proposed budget request for this group of accounts is $9,859,796, or 0.56% increase above the current budget. Public Works. The Public Works group of accounts includes Public Works and Development, Highway and Grounds, and Engineering. Some areas to note. The Highway and Grounds operation account shows funding for 4 seasonal summer employees who will be used to supplement regular staff. The Highway and Grounds traffic control account shows a decrease in the electricity line item due to the conversion of streetlights to LED lamps. The purchase of streetlights and relamping program will lead to anticipated savings in the next fiscal year. The proposed request for the Public Works group of accounts is $4,758,129, a decrease of 2.36% below the current budget. The Community and Recreation Services group of accounts includes community service and housing. Some areas to note. The Professional Service account in Elderly Services had funded the Meals on Wheels program. The program has been transferred to a nonprofit organization. However, this account continues to fund Meals on Wheels program administration as well as other needs of eligible residents that are not met by state relief programs. The total request for the Community and Recreational Service account is $838,939, a decrease of 1.65%. In the other accounts, includes funds for employee benefits and contingencies. The recommended budget request for this group of accounts is $7,439,387, an increase of 5.47%. The pension contribution has increased as a result of an increase in the actual accrued liability for non-active participants, Board of Education non-certified staff, and required contributions to the defined contribution plan. The health insurance account contains a 7% increase. Although actual claims paid is projected to increase by only 2.9% next year, the cost of stop-loss insurance coverage is projected to increase 44.8% due to high losses over the past 3 years. I've also separated the budget by object, which includes salaries, benefits, supplies, equipment, contractual, and utilities. The increases for each object are as follows. Overall, the salary account increased by 1.8%. The benefits account increased by 5.47%. The supplies account decreased by 1.55%. The equipment account increased by 8.42%. The contractual account increased by 1.93%, and the utility accounts decreased by 1.75%. The recommended total town general fund appropriation is $29,573,654, which is a 2.47% increase above the current budget. This recommended budget increase of 2.47% maintains the current service levels that residents expect. The debt group of accounts includes appropriations to make principal and interest payments on the town's long-term bond debt. The total recommended amount for the next fiscal year is $8,399,011. This is an increase of $1,083,311, or 14.81% from the previous year. This increase in debt service is a result of the requirement by the State Clean Water Fund program that the town permanently finance $34 million of expenses for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade project this year. Special services. The refuse collection budget includes the cost of collecting and disposing of solid and bulky waste generated by town residents, our regional household hazardous waste program, and the town's landfill operation. This budget proposes no rate increase. The annual fee will remain at $235 per household. The proposed general fund appropriation to support the capital improvements is $2,675,000. This is an increase of 11.55% from last year's funding level. The town's capital improvement plan, the CIP, and the town strategic plan were the policy guidelines that were at the forefront when formulating the CIP, while focusing the appropriations into 3 main funding themes. These themes are equipment, infrastructure maintenance improvements, technology and communication initiatives, and adherence to laws and compliance. The proposed general fund appropriation to support the first year of the capital improvement plan is $2,675,000, which equals 2.5% of the recommended general fund revenues for the next fiscal year. Based on the town's capital improvement policy, the town's objective is to contribute at least 2.5% of the annual general fund revenues allocated to the operating budget. I've included the complete Board of Education and the town's capital request as presented at the February 27, 2018 Town Council meeting in this budget document. At that meeting, the Town Council acknowledged that there are significant capital needs for the entire community. While this recommended budget has reduced the capital budget to the policy floor, it is my expectation that there will be further discussion regarding the capital funding level during these upcoming budget workshops. Bonding. The first year of the capital plan proposes 2 bond questions. I'm proposing the replacement of Engine 2 at Tungus Hose Fire Station and Ladder 1 at Farmington Fire Station. Board of Education. The Board of Education account includes a request for $65,799,897, an increase of 2.54% above the current year's budget. I will now call on Chris Fagan and Kathy Greeter to present the Board of Education budget, and then I will be back to do the grand list and the tax rate. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. As with the, our presentation the other week with regard to the capital budget, I'm just here to make some general introductory comments as part of the budget process. Superintendent Greeter will then go over in greater detail the breakdown in our budget. And so I'd like to thank the chair and all fellow town council members for the opportunity to come before you tonight to present the Board of Education's 2018-2019 recommended budget. On behalf of the entire Farmington Board of Education, I'd like you to know that this budget presented to you tonight and tomorrow represents our collaborative and dedicated efforts. Consider judgment, Superintendent Kathy, her administrators, our district teachers, and my fellow board members. I'd like to thank everybody for their efforts. Just like to, as we go forward, thank everybody for not only tonight's efforts, but then tomorrow and in the entire budget process. I know that this is a very consuming effort for everybody. But as an innovative learning organization, the mission and vision of the Farmington School District is deeply committed to a pathway of continuous improvement. Our teaching and learning process is based on the collaborative interactions among students, educators, parents, families, and emphasizes the importance of clear expectations, rigorous standard-led curriculum, inspired instruction, personal effort, and engaged learning in relationships leading to high levels of achievement for all learners. We collectively as a board and our administration are ultimately guided in our efforts by the fundamental principle we call the vision of the graduate, whereby Farmington graduates will acquire an understanding of the essential knowledge and skills in the core academic disciplines and develop the thinking and learning skills needed to meet the challenges of local, national, and global citizenship in a rapidly changing world. These learning skills are noted as critical thinking and reasoning, communication and collaboration, problem solving and innovation, self-direction, and resourcefulness. As we are all aware, these are uncertain times in which we are operating. We as a board are cognizant of that. And we're cognizant of the uncertainties related to ongoing funding at the state level and the impact these changes may have on communities like Farmington and its families and its students. It's against that backdrop that we undertook this budget process, knowing it would be difficult to make any provision for substantial increases in expenditures on education. You can rest assured that there were certainly items that both teachers and administrators would have wanted that never found their way into this budget. And trust me when I say we accepted the challenge, and it was a difficult challenge. According to the Board of Education, budget comes within the target range that we are provided with by the town council. We understand that targets are fluid and may be just targets affected by a number of factors, but rest assured that we did take that charge or guidance seriously, and this budget is reflective of those efforts. As you'll note from the details that will be presented to you both tonight and tomorrow evening, the board is recommending an increase of only 2.54% of its budget, or approximately $1.6 million, to bring the total proposed budget to $65,799,897 for the 2018-2019 fiscal year. And while I think you can all reasonably agree this is a responsible proposal on its face, the austerity underlying this proposed budget is most certainly reflected in the fact that the proposed 2.54 increase, almost 90% of that increase, or 2.21%, is directly related to contractually negotiated salaries and benefits. As such, approximately $200,000 of the recommended total budget of $66 million is directly related to extending and building upon the value proposition of the educational experience in Farmington. It goes without saying that Farmington is one of the best and highest performing school districts, not only in the state, but also the nation. Our schools, administrators, faculty are routinely recognized for their educational achievements. It is one of the very reasons, myself included, why each of us live in this community and are proud to call ourselves residents of Farmington. I think you will find as Kathy goes through the budget in detail, this recommended budget not only allows us to continue to achieve our expected high levels of excellence in challenging and difficult times, but also represents a considered, thoughtful, and fiscally responsible approach given the space we are operating in today and the uncertainty of the future. I believe you'll see as you go through our presentation that Farmington continues to lead the way in terms of achieving unparalleled academic excellence both locally and nationally. Our proposed budget allows us to maintain core programming aligned across all grade levels to our strategic priorities. And our budget and collective and collaborative leadership provide exceptional management of taxpayer dollars through highly effective cost containment measures and effective allocation of available resources. But these are challenging times. And each one of us knows that. A day probably doesn't go by when we don't hold our breath and see what's going to happen with the latest pronouncement from the state as additional cuts in state funding. So the Board of Education recommended budget presented tonight is a fiscally responsible budget that allows us to continue with our mission to provide a top-tier educational experience to our students. In adverse times such as these, we must commit to honor our pledge to the children and families of Farmington to continue adequately funding our educational system. So thank you for allowing us to present to you this evening and tomorrow, and I thank you for your time and effort in considering our proposed budget. I'll now introduce Kathy Greeter, our superintendent, who will walk through the budget with you in greater detail. Kathy?
Thank you, Chris. Good evening. I'm pleased to present the Board of Education's recommended 2018-19 school year budget to the Town Council and community. The 2018-19 school district budget was developed to address the Board of Education's mission and philosophy, 5-year goals, vision of the graduate, priorities within the budget guidelines, policies of the board, and state and federal requirements. It is important to note that throughout the budget process, zero-based budgeting was implemented. Farmington's vision of the graduate outlines the core body of knowledge and the thinking and learning skills all Farmington students are required to master upon graduation. Improvement efforts in Farmington are aligned to our vision of the graduate, which place Farmington at the forefront of innovation in teaching and learning, student outcomes, and students as leaders of their own learning at the local, state, and national levels. On this slide, you can see examples of our students actively engaged in learning experiences that are highly authentic and student-centered. This is the type of learning that students are exposed to each day in Farmington. Farmington's compelling mission is outlined on this slide. Our mission was designed to directly align to our goals and vision, as well as our framework for teaching and learning and core beliefs, creating a strong improvement design and through line from our mission and goals to all classrooms, all students, and all schools. This is our theory of action. Our vision of the graduate is what the entire district is working toward. Our framework for teaching and learning is how we will enact our vision of the graduate, and our core beliefs are why we engage in this innovative and inspiring work with our students. The what, how, and why provides clarity and strategic directions and has resulted in impressive shifts in teaching, learning, assessment, and programming, as well as impressive outcomes. Our financial plan, this budget, aligns to and supports the what, how, and why. Our updated theory of action provides a clear and forward-thinking direction for improvement work to support and integrate the what, how, and why throughout the school district. Purpose-driven learning is designed to foster students' intellectual curiosity and meaningful work that has purpose and significance to the learner, so students develop an ethic of excellence and experience the joy of contributing to a greater good. Socially constructed learning creates an environment that values diverse perspectives where students, local and global experts, mentors, and peers are engaged in a context of inquiry, discovery, and exploration. Mastery-based learning ensures curriculum and assessment are organized around essential learning targets, varied ways of demonstrating mastery, and flexible pacing. It elevates student agency and ownership so that students are not passive participants in their learning, but active, highly engaged learners. And self-directed learning promotes academic risk-taking, reflection, persistence, and resilience to increase independence and inspire students to direct their own personal and collective learning. Our vision of the graduate is at the center of our theory of action, and this recommended budget supports all elements of our strategic improvement design, which include our mission, vision, core beliefs, framework for teaching and learning, and theory of action. The Board of Education's recommended budget reflects a total budget amount of $65,799,897, with an increase of $1,627,256, or a 2.54% increase over the 2017-18 school district budget. The recommended budget maintains core programming K-12 aligned to Farmington's improvement design and strategic priorities through academic excellence and equity and innovative programming K-12. We are expanding a financial literacy course for math credit based on interest and introducing a sign language course based on interest in this recommended budget. Supports for students' social emotional development, for example, there are additional mental health positions proposed in this budget based on need. Cost containment given uncertain grant and state funding. Cost containment and avoidance have been a focus of the board's budget for many years. We will provide some examples of cost containment and avoidance in the upcoming slides. An increase focused on facility and infrastructure improvements aligned to our 2018 K-8 facility assessment after years of thoughtful strategic planning. These reports are found on our website under the Facilities tab. In addition, we have included Farmington High School's Statement of Need in the budget book, as this facility is a critical need. Continued focus on technology-integrated teaching and learning, which has become essential in the learning process in all of our schools. Excellence in curriculum development. This is a true strength in Farmington as we remain on the forefront of innovative curriculum development and programming aligned to our strategic improvement design, having a direct impact on student outcomes. Comprehensive research-based and highly effective staff and faculty development. When implementing new and novel teaching methods aligned to our vision of the graduate, we prioritize research-based and highly effective professional development, support for our faculty and staff, and lastly, class size levels in accordance with Board of Ed policy. We have much to be proud of in Farmington. We continue to be highlighted at the regional, state, and national levels for excellence in teaching and learning and student outcomes. I'll highlight just a few accomplishments on this slide. We have an exemplary science program ranking #1 in the state on the 5th grade science CMT. In fact, a team of IAR students recently won the Connecticut Science Bowl and will soon be traveling to Washington, D.C. to compete at the national level. In addition, FHS was recently named a Project Lead the Way distinguished school, only one of 2 schools in Connecticut to receive this honor this year. Farmington sophomores outperformed the national cohort of seniors on an international college work readiness assessment. This assessment aligns to our vision of the graduate, and our students' impressive outcomes are a reflection of our board's and community's commitment to all students acquiring a core body of knowledge and the thinking and learning skills most valued in college work and life. Our national and state level rankings, FHS is one of the top high schools in Connecticut by all of the rankings, U.S. News and World Reports, Washington Post, and Newsweek. We have strong partnerships with local organizations and businesses that promote internships, job shadowing, and unique learning experiences aligned to purpose-driven learning. Although not on this slide, according to the results of Connecticut's accountability system, we remain one of the top 10 school districts with overall achievement and growth rates in achievement at the top of Connecticut's public schools K-12. These are just a few of the notable highlights. Please refer to our achievements PowerPoint found on our website under the budget tab, and our annual results and outcomes booklet. That is our accountability system on our website for more detailed accomplishments. Through the community's investment in our schools, we continue to lead the way in education. Here are examples of our favorable state rankings when it comes to expenditures. There is a relationship between the accomplishment slide I just went over and the ranking slide. Excellence in education and fiscal responsibility in management. The rankings are based on Connecticut's 169 towns, with 1 spending the most and 169 spending the least. 1/30th in purchase services. This ranking reflects the excellent work of our business office through regional purchasing that has led to cost-effective purchasing. 159th in general administration and 155th in school-based administration. Farmington administrators on average supervise, develop, and evaluate more teachers than similar districts. And this is impressive when we look at the state's teacher evaluation guidelines and requirements, increased legislative demands, and our own internal expectations of our teachers and administrators. 1/30th in special education, we continue to provide exemplary programming and special services in a fiscally responsible manner. 1/17th in employee benefits, Farmington continues to partner with employees on our healthcare design that provides quality healthcare benefits that engage employees as consumers. In turn, we have excellent trending in claims. 141st in total transportation and 125th in plant services. Our custodians do an outstanding job with our aging facilities. Given our extraordinary outcomes coupled with our favorable expenditure rankings, here are some specific examples of how we focus each day on cost containment and avoidance while providing a quality education for Farmington students. The town of Farmington's contract negotiations for liability insurance has resulted in savings in the 2018-19 budget. Membership in the Educational Resources Collaborative, the ERC, has led to savings in district-wide copy equipment lease and on-call services, for safety services. This also ties back to our favorable rankings in purchase services. Here are some additional examples of cost containment measures. I'll just highlight 2 examples on the slide. The first is a partnership between the town and the board. New internal and external lighting projects will contain and avoid cost in electricity in 2018-19 and beyond. It's important to note that the internal lighting project was partially funded through an energy efficiency Eversource Energize Connecticut incentive. Savings from this project will be found not only in a 50% reduction in lighting costs in our utility bill, but also in the reduced need for lamp replacement. Further, the external lighting project was fully funded through energy efficiency rebates from our joint town board performance contracts and will create reduced lighting costs in our utility bill. We are continuing to move to a paperless approach in operations as well. This slide provides examples of reductions that have occurred during the budget development process to arrive at the recommended budget level for the 2018-19 year. Please note that reductions to the budget that have already occurred total close to $500,000. The reductions include reductions to school and program budget submissions after careful analysis, cost efficiencies and containment, favorable budget trends, and recently negotiated contract savings. The first driver of the budget is salaries. As you can see on this, this accounts for 67.66% of the total budget and reflects collaborative negotiations between various associations and the Board of Education. Each of the associations' negotiated salary increase are listed here, with the exception of our non-certified group, as we will engage in negotiations in the spring. The salary series reflects a 2.36% increase over this year's budget. The second major driver is employee benefits. This account provides for 100% of expected paid claims and the administration of our employee health insurance. We are proud to continue to experience employee costs of healthcare services below industry average, which is currently running between 10 to 12%. Farmington's preventative care measures show best-in-class rates across almost all items. You can see the life and long-term disability costs on this slide. The employee benefits series accounts for 14.85% of our total budget. There is a 4.03% increase in this account. This slide provides an overview of our best practices approach to self-insurance management with a focus on our partnership between the Board of Ed and Town Council. We have included some examples of how we provide excellent health care benefits to our employees while remaining fiscally responsible to the taxpayers of Farmington. The services series includes varied items. This series accounts for 13.71% of the total budget. It reflects a 2.39% increase. This is an area of cost avoidance and containment through strong contract negotiations. It also reflects a commitment to educating students in district, providing excellent programming in district for students with special needs. This increase in this series is across several objects. 2 examples of the increases in services are in transportation. We do need some new bus runs, as well as facility improvements in the major facility projects area of the budget. This is a result of our K-8 facility assessment that was completed and presented to the board and community in January 2018. Here are some examples of cost avoidance and containment in the 300 series. All of these examples are a reflection of the hard work of faculty, staff, administration, and the Board of Education, as well as our partnership with the town of Farmington. Facilities and infrastructure. The 300 series includes major facility projects within the operating budget. First, I do want to highlight the need to address significant facility issues with our FHS facility. We have included our FHS statement of need in the board's capital budget sent to the town and in our budget book, as this is an urgent facility need in Farmington, and we hope to continue to work in collaboration with the town and community to address the FHS statement of need in a timely manner. In this year alone, for example, we have faced approximately 12 unanticipated roof leaks and a boiler issue, with unanticipated repair costs reaching close to $100,000. In addition, we conducted a comprehensive K-8 2018 facility assessment after years of careful and thoughtful planning. This provides short and long-term facility recommendations for our 6 other school facilities. The information in each of our K-8 facility assessment reports inform both our annual capital budget as well as our annual major facility projects in the services series of the operating budget. Thus, you will see an increase this year in the major facility project object in this operating budget. In Farmington, our mission, vision, and goals have been and continue to be clear and compelling and reflect our tradition of leading the way in education. Now we have a clear and comprehensive plan to improve and align our aging facilities to our mission, vision, and goals so that we lead the way in facilities and infrastructure. The supply series reflects a 0.82% increase and accounts for 2.85% of the total budget. This account provides for facilities used in swimming and ice hockey competitions and for purchasing of a wide range of items such as instructional, health, custodial, computer, and testing supplies. The next slide reflects the budget level for the equipment series, which accounts for 0.59% of the total budget. This series reflects equipment requests. There is a 6.69% increase for equipment. We have successfully built a technology infrastructure and capacity over several years, and we're now moving to replacing and repurposing Chromebooks. This slide shows the progression over several years, including the upcoming school year, of increasing technology access for all students to support student-centered teaching and learning aligned to the priorities outlined in our theory of action and aligned to our vision, mission, core beliefs, and framework for teaching and learning. We should be very proud of the collective strategic planning in the area of technology and the successful implementation of our technology plan. The dues and fees series is the last series. It reflects a 0.35% increase. It reflects 0.35% of the total budget with a negative 10.78% decrease. This includes memberships to organizations and liability and property insurance. The decrease in this series is attributed to the Town of Farmington's negotiated savings in liability, umbrella, and motor vehicle insurance. This slide is an overview of the major budget drivers that reflect a 2.54% increase over the 2017-18 school district budget, all of which I reviewed within this presentation. The 2018-19 budget supports all students to achieve academic and personal excellence, exhibit persistent effort, and live as resourceful, inquiring, and contributing global citizens. Farmington is leading the way in excellence in teaching and learning, as well as student outcomes, achievements, and operations. Our financial plan supports and advances these efforts. We've taken a long-term, strategic, and highly effective approach to cost containment, avoidance, and savings so that resources are aligned directly to our mission, core beliefs, priorities, vision, and our theory of action. Those are our promises at the student level. I'm proud that in Farmington, all members of our school district community, our students, parents, teachers, staff, administrators, our Board of Education, and Town Council take ownership of learning, improvement, and excellence in achievement, as well as operations. We provide a student-centered, nurturing learning environment that is purpose-driven, self-directed, and mastery-based with a commitment to socially constructed learning. We take great pride in implementing a strategic approach to improvement with an eye on cost containment through collaborative negotiations, partnership, strong contract negotiations, ongoing reviews of programming, facilities, and staffing to realize efficiencies, knowing that it is essential to do so on behalf of our students, as well as the taxpayers of Farmington, especially with uncertain financial support from grants and state-level funding. This is a collaborative endeavor with all members of our school district community seeking out new and innovative approaches that will contain and reduce costs, while at the same time ensuring excellence in all that we do. The clarity of our improvement design greatly assists in the systems alignment that we have, including resource allocation, strategic improvement, and ownership and enactment by all members of the school community. Our student, faculty, school, and district accomplishments, continuous improvement efforts, rigorous curriculum, and high-quality programming have contributed to a nationally recognized education here in Farmington. in this budget, we have prioritized facility improvements. We need the support of our community in addressing not only the comprehensive needs of our high school, but also the recommendations of our K-8 facility assessment reports. As cited in the K-8 facility executive summary overview, while the facilities and maintenance staff have done an outstanding job of preserving and maintaining the buildings under their care, budget constraints have resulted in some deferred maintenance and postponement of necessary but cost-prohibitive improvements. The time has come that deferred maintenance and postponement of improvements are at a critical point and require a significant long-term investment in both our operating capital improvement budgets. The recommended 2018 budget is responsive to our community and to our students, the next generations of pioneers, scholars, contributors, and citizens. They will one day lead the way, and each of us will take great pride in knowing that we all contributed to their individual and collective success by providing a world-class education in Farmington. We look forward to presenting the 2018-19 budget with a new budget book format in more detail to the Town Council and community at tomorrow's budget session.
Expenditures. The total recommended budget for fiscal year 18-19 is $106,447,562, an increase of $3,700,427, or a 3.60% above the current budget. That's the Board of Education at 2.54, the town at 2.47, the debt service at 14.81%, capital outlay at 11.55, again for a total of 3.60 for a total expenditure. The grand list. The grand list is broken down into three categories: real estate, personal property, and motor vehicles. The real estate account shows a 1.7% increase. The personal property account shows a 3.07% increase, and the motor vehicle account shows a 0.29% decrease. In summary, the grand list increased by 1.65%, or $59,416,893, for a total grand list of $3,655,376,464. Some areas to note. The real estate grew by 1.70%. The growth in the value of real estate is due primarily to the revaluation of all real property throughout the town. Growth in this area is indicative of a stable economy in Farmington. Personal property increased by 3.07%. The increase demonstrates the solid business environment in Farmington. Businesses are continuing to invest in Farmington. Motor vehicles decreased by 0.29%. There was a decrease of 306 passenger vehicles from the previous year. The 2017 revaluation process and the resulting grand list saw a pronounced shift in value from residential property to commercial industrial property. There has been a decrease in residential property values and an increase in commercial industrial property values. The ratio of residential property to commercial industrial property as a percentage of the total net taxable grand list is now residential 68%, commercial industrial 32%. Revenues. Revenues have been broken down into categories that include other property taxes, license and permits, fines and penalties, interest, grants, service charges, other, and the Westwoods Golf Course contribution. In summary, projected non-tax revenues are $8,026,415, or a 1.58% increase over the current year. Some areas to note: license and permits and fines and penalties are budgeted at the same level as last year. These figures are based on what we have been collecting over the last 3 years. Interest income is projected to increase 123%, or $185,000. Interest rates are rising and are expected to continue to do so next year. State and federal grants have been reduced by 2.56 overall. Due to the continued uncertainty with the state budget, this account reflects a reduction in funding. We continue to be conservative, and despite assurances from our state legislators, we reduced the current funding by 9% below what we received this year. The recommended general fund budget will require a property tax rate of 27.23 mils, an increase of 0.55 mils, or 2.06%. This illustrates that the average residential assessment will see a decrease of $16.94 in their taxes. It's important to note that the tax impact on a property will depend on how much a property either increased or decreased. The magnitude of the property value change will determine its taxes. In this revaluation year, the tax impact is truly on a case-by-case basis. A tax calculator is on the Town of Farmington's webpage for those who want to see what their tax impact will be with the recommended tax rate. The recommended 2018-19 budget meets the Town Council expenditure target. The budget maintains the service levels that Farmington residents and businesses have come to expect without any real expansion of service. The budget supports the management of programs and services that are in accordance with industry best practices and adheres to the town's strategic plan and our strong financial policies such as the town's capital improvement plan and the recreational operational funding policy. Despite a continued tenuous state of Connecticut fiscal environment, we continually work to serve the community at a high level without substantially increasing tax resources. We do this while our population, infrastructure, and calls for service have grown significantly over the last decade. We continue to review the organization for efficiencies, cost savings, and implementations of best practices of municipal government. My staff and I stand ready to assist you in your deliberations throughout the week, and shown here is the 2018 budget schedule. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your presentations. At this time, I'd like to ask for any public comment on the,
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I have 2 items to add.
oh.
No.
Oh, they are?
First,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
okay, that's okay. At this time, I'll ask for any public comment on the public hearing itself, on the budget. So if there's anyone that would like to comment on the budget, please come to the podium. You have 5 minutes, and please give us your name and your address.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Mike D'Amico. I live at 6 Deborah Lane, and I'm the state representative for the 21st District. I just wanted to give you encouragement as you go into this budget week. I know you will do a fine job for the town, as you always do. You're all smart people and thoughtful people. It's a difficult process, but it's one that I'm sure you'll handle quite well, as always. As I was sitting in the audience, I think I heard the reference to the uncertainty of the state budget. At least 5 or 6 times that word was used, and we do live in uncertain times. But I wanted to talk about that issue, which is a relatively small portion of the numbers that you're going to be crunching within the next week. But it's a small portion, but it's a significant portion, obviously. So I just wanted to distribute these if I could. Thanks. So what I am handing out is from the Office of Fiscal Analysis, the nonpartisan legislative Office of Fiscal Analysis, and I asked them to just give me a summary of the state aid, the grants that have come to the town of Farmington over the last 5 or 6 years. So it starts with fiscal year 2012 and it goes all the way up to the present. Now, when the legislative delegation was here last month to speak with all of you, the question was asked, well, what can we realistically expect from the state as far as grant money for this year? And the answer that we gave you, and I think it was a good answer and it remains a good answer, is a good guideline would be the 2-year state budget that was adopted back in the fall a few months ago. It's a 2-year budget. Certainly, it's subject to change based on the vagaries of the economy and of the fiscal cycle. But I think it's a pretty good guide to go by that 2-year budget. As you will see, as you're looking through what I just handed out to you, historically over the last 5 or 6 years, Farmington has received somewhere in the neighborhood of about $5 million, more or less, just about every year. In state grant money from the state of Connecticut. So I think that's it's a good guide to go by. And again, as I said, that's from the Office of Fiscal Analysis. There have already been newspaper articles and talk of going to be drastic reductions, and you never know what the legislature is going to do. You never know what the governor is going to do. Every year there are proposals, and certainly this year there are proposals to reduce aid of various forms, of various percentages. And I will just tell you that my recommendation is that you look at past history, and you will see that the grant money that has gone to Farmington has been relatively quite consistent, actually, over the last several years. And there's a reason for that. The legislature, in spite of what the governor might propose from time to time, the legislature has remained steadfast, at least the whole time that I've been there, steadfast in keeping grant money, education money, as well as town aid money consistent to the towns, recognizing that any reduction in aid to the towns, whether it's on the town side or the education side, would really be a severe blow and really be detrimental to any town that suffers that kind of loss. So we've really worked hard to maintain that, as you can see, and I would just caution you not to let the newspaper articles or the doom and gloom comments that you might hear to discourage you from what has been a pretty good track record last several years. So I will offer, as I always do, you can call me anytime, and many of you do call me on a regular basis to find out what's going on and to offer comments and suggestions and so forth. So please continue to do that. And as always, along with my legislative colleagues from Farmington, I will continue to fight to make sure that Farmington gets its fair share and makes out pretty well in the state budget as we traditionally do. I thank you, and good luck.
Thank you. Kathy?
Oh, Mike?
Mike,
Before you go, could I just ask you a quick question, just for clarity? Just as, we track of what we actually receive.
Yep.
Can you I'll go through this and we'll just match it up with the numbers.
Okay.
Can you just ask where you got this from to make sure that these numbers are actually what the town received, that it's not the mid-year cuts,
Right.
the different things that happen? Because just by taking a quick glance of it, it's not the numbers that I have just off the budget, and that's what we actually receive.
Okay.
I haven't gone through it in total. I think in general what you said is that the $5 million and that.
Right.
But I just want to make sure that what your numbers are is what we actually get. Because what many times happens is that there's different cuts or different things that happen mid-year, and that's not what we actually receive.
Okay.
And the starting number is not the number that we actually end up with. So I think what we'll do is that, because I've been tracking it for quite some time, maybe we can give you our numbers, we can compare it to this, because I think it would be helpful for both of us just to make sure that we have the same numbers.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Just saved us both a phone call.
Yeah.
So I will check
Thank
it
you.
out, and I will let you know.
Okay, perfect.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mike.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Any other public comment? Okay, thank you very much. Bruce?
Madam Chair, I have 2 items to add under new items. I move to add as agenda item L-12 under appointments, an appointment to the Greater Hartford Transit District.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
The second one, I move to add to add an agenda item N-9 under new business to set a public hearing on April 2nd, 2018 for the Community Development Block Grant.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
Reading of the minutes, February 13. Oh, I'm sorry. Now it's my mistake. Public comment. If there is any public comment about any issue in the town, not just the budget, please come forward and let us hear your voice. Okay. Bruce.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve February 13th, 2018 regular town council meeting minutes.
Second?
Any corrections or changes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I move to approve February 27th, 2018 regular town council meeting minutes.
Second?
Any corrections or changes? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great. Reading of the communications and written appeals? None today. Report of committees. Yukon, no report. Land acquisition.
Yes. Land acquisition met last week. The committee is reviewing the land acquisition list to ensure that the properties that are on the list continue to meet the requirements for the land acquisition committee. And the current list for the public is available on the town website under the land acquisition committee website if you're curious about what properties are on that list now. When it's updated, when we finished updating the list, we'll provide a new list on the website.
Thank you. Green efforts.
Green Efforts Committee met last week. There was a presentation from Kristen Brown at Waste Zero about smart reduction, which is save money and reduce trash. So that way Green Efforts can look at more ways to reduce our waste in town. We are starting blogging, not an actual blog, but we'll put blog posts on the Explore Farmington page, so that way there'll be more information about what's going on. The first blog is expected in April. Later tonight, there'll be discussion about textile recycling and with simple recycling as part of the town manager's report. And as a reminder, the town cleanup day is April 21st. Signups are available on the Green Efforts website, and that's the same day as the household hazardous waste collection that will also be held. There will be no paper shredding at this year's household hazardous waste collection because it's also Earth Day weekend and there's no vendors available. But the Farmington Bank is doing shredding events throughout the summer at various locations.
Okay, thank you. Report of the council chair and liaisons. Nothing new to add by the chair. Board of Education liaison.
Okay, so much like the council, the newly assigned committee chairs and liaisons were given out at the last Board of Ed meeting, so we'll be hearing more from that. There was a really thorough and interesting presentation on the new science curriculum by faculty member Tara Vasquez. That has to do with the next generation science standards. It's really hands-on. It's K through 6. Lots of exciting different activities and new ways of teaching science. The superintendent's report mentioned that we have a Science Bowl team. I think that was in her presentation tonight. We have a middle school Science Bowl team that is going to be competing in Washington. And we have 3 National Merit Scholars at Farmington High School this year. There'll be several retirements at the end of this school year of longtime faculty and staff that are going to be greatly missed. So that was kind of a long list this year. And of course, there's continued discussion at their meetings of facility needs. This past meeting was on March 5th, and they discussed roof issues at Farmington High School, which we heard about at our last meeting. The next meeting of the Board of Education is going to be on March 19th at Union School.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Chamber, you don't have liaison. EDC,
Nothing to report. EDC will be meeting tomorrow.
thank you. Farmington Historic District,
Nothing to report.
Human Relations,
Nothing to report except the next meeting is March 28th.
Library Board,
Nothing to report.
TPC,
Well, I'm excited about this, so I wanted to make sure I bring it up. Planning and Zoning had approved an application to do a food truck festival at 20 Waterside Drive. It's going to be sometime this summer, so definitely look out for communications that come out. They're going to have anywhere between 25 to 30 food trucks in that location, so something new for Farmington residents to look out for. The next item is, I know it's a big topic on some people's minds, is St. Patrick Church is planning on presenting at the Planning and Zoning anywhere between April 23rd or April 17th. Those two dates are tentative. They had several meetings with folks in the neighborhood to review their plans. They met with the Farmington Historic Commission, and the next steps is for them to present their expansion in front of the Planning and Zoning. That's all I have.
okay, thank you. Unionville Historic District,
Nothing to report.
okay. UVIA,
UVIA has not met since the last time, so I have nothing to report.
okay. WPCA,
The construction of the treatment plant is going well. Believe it or not, the weather we've had the last couple months is better than was anticipated, so they're actually ahead of schedule a little bit. It's too soon to tell how the final end date will work out, but so far the scheduling is looking good. And they've set the new increase for the sewer assessment. It's 2.3%. They will be meeting tomorrow. It's going to be concurrent to our meeting, but it's in the same building. But they don't anticipate a lot of trouble, but that meeting will be tomorrow.
thank you. Any other liaison reports?
I have one. Madam
Sure.
Chair. The Housing Authority, the next meeting is March 15th, but 2 weeks ago, they had a meeting, and they have a waiting list for Maple Village of 56 singles and 5 couples, and that's the town's low-income housing for seniors and disabled. The town's Section 8 program, which is our town's rental subsidy program, federally funded, but that has an extensive waiting list as well. That last opened up about a year ago. And the town's cooperative housing program is doing well. One house just sold after being on the market for just a few weeks.
Great, thank you. Report of the town manager, Kathy.
You have the written report in front of you. We do have an item later on, but I did put it together, I tried to put together a strategic meeting schedule, and what my thoughts were is that after the budget, that we have May 15th, possibly a joint workshop with the Board of Education. May 22nd, we discuss the strategic plan, and then hopefully on May 29th, approve the strategic plan. They're all Tuesdays, so we can get started on that. In the past, what we've done is that we've deleted specific goals and added to it, and it would be my intention that we'd have the joint meeting with the Board of Education for the purpose of allowing the opportunity for the town council to discuss with the Board of Education the Farmington High School facility and possible next steps. And so later on, I have to set those meetings. So that was just my suggestion to get that moving along. The simple recycling, and Patty, I can ask you to fill in for me if you wouldn't mind on that, because you've been involved in it, but I thought this was a great project, and Shannon has been talking about it, and it's a new initiative that we're looking to take on. You have my written report, but maybe, Patty, you can add to it, if you wouldn't mind.
Simple recycling is no cost to the town. It's textile recycling. It's your clothes, your towels, your bedding, your linens, I've been told to some extent sneakers, because they're also textiles. It's all recyclable. It's done at the curb. It's done on the same day that the recycling is picked up. Simple Recycling provides pink bags, trash bag size, I think tall kitchen size maybe. So they're visible. You put whatever you want to recycle in the bag. You leave it on the curb next to your recycling, and they pick it up. And when they pick up the bag, they leave you what they take plus one. So if they pick up one bag, they leave you two. If they pick up two bags, they'll leave you three. So you'll always be getting bags to continue your textile recycling. Anything that is still usable, they do donate to agencies that can use it. I don't remember who exactly they partner with, but they do make sure that usable items go back into the world so they can continue to be used. Things that are not still usable, so holey t-shirts, old stained clothing, those get shredded and they can be recycled. So it's a way to reduce what's going into our trash stream, which also would improve and decrease the town's tipping fees because there'd be less waste. And it's at no cost to the town because the costs get paid, Simple Recycling gets paid by selling the clothes for recycling, for shredding. And the town does get a small percentage of that, but it's really fairly nominal in terms of the town's return. It's essentially a way to reduce our waste overall and make sure that clothes get reused.
And both the Green Efforts Committee and the Conservation Commission has reviewed the information about this program and voted to endorse the implementation of the program. And what I'm just looking for tonight is that the council's support of this, and so then we would start working on the contract, and then it would come back to the council in a near meeting for authorization for me to sign the contract. So just looking for some consensus about that.
Okay, yes.
Just a question, are we talking about the frequency being once a week for pickups, or would it?
It's the same as with your recycling,
Okay.
so it's every other week because it's the same schedule as your recycling pickup.
Other questions first?
Patty, how would they get the pink bags?
Okay.
Like, so if they're
So-
first time doing it, how would they get those bags?
So the first time, Simple Recycling sends out 1 or 2 mailings, depending on what we include in the contract, and they will mail the pink bags to residents at Simple Recycling's cost with a flyer that explains what needs to be used, along with, I think it's 2 pink bags with the first mailing. And then when they leave the bag for you afterwards, they will tie it onto your mailbox or onto your recycling cart to make sure that the bag does not blow in the wind.
Thank you.
Welcome. Other questions? Okay, do we have a consensus to move forward with this?
I think so.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As you know, I stated in the budget presentation, we did have our reval, and our grand list was a 1.65% over the 2017 grand list. We did have a shift, and it's a somewhat unusual shift. From years and years past, it used to shift the commercial to the residential. We have shifted from residential to commercial. So we did have some growth in real estate, motor vehicles, and in personal property. You can see from the report the different values that we did have. Our motor vehicle grand list did decrease, and we were surprised about that, but that was a decrease of 306 passenger vehicles from the previous year. According to some other towns, they've also had the same kind of decrease in motor vehicles. To be honest, I think there's some, over the last couple of years, I don't know if you have been familiar, but there's been a lot of things with the DMV when it came to motor vehicles. We've had buses and some different things. So I think this can be a cleaning up of our motor vehicles. So, because some of the other towns had the same sort of decrease of motor vehicles, but we're going to look at that a little bit more carefully and see what that's about. West Farms Mall remains our top taxpayer in town with a gross assessment of $175.5 million, followed by Dunn Sager for $59.7 million and United Technology at $45.7 million. The net grand list is going to generate $1,585,250 in new tax revenue at the current tax rate of 26.68 mils. So one of the things that we'll talk about, I think, some more in the budget process, but this revaluation, we've analyzed a lot of different homes and things, and it's really not anything about the average tax rate, what is going up. Everyone's tax rate is different. We have some analysis. I can give you some general thoughts about what we've seen, but we really want everyone to be encouraged to use the tax calculator to find out what their taxes were, because there are some residential homes that have increased in value, even though, and then there's some, and they've increased substantially. There's other residential homes that have not increased. There's ones that have stayed pretty much the same. So, and it's really, we've analyzed it, but I think everyone should really go and do their own tax rate, and we don't make a broad statement that everyone's taxes are going down 16.97%. I think that's an inaccurate conclusion from the reval. So I just want to make sure that we're clear about that. But we are pleased with our growth. We have a very, very large grand list, and the fact that our grand list has shifted to more commercial base really shows about a strong commercial base. Towns, cities are envious of the commercial base that we have in Farmington, and the fact that how much it supports our services. And but that said, on the other side of the equation, we have to be aware that there has been a large shift of the taxes to the commercial base, and they're paying their taxes too. So that's important to note that, again, we're very, very pleased that our commercial growth is going, but then again, it's a shift and their taxes are going up. So I think, again, when we say people's taxes are average is decreasing, I think everyone is an individual, and the businesses in general, and this is, again, it's different with the businesses, is that the businesses are broken up, and the commercial end of the business was going up, the industrial was not. And some of the commercial, not all, but just in general, but these commercial businesses have really gone up in value. So again, their taxes, go up accordingly. So again, there's two sides to the equation here. But in general, we're really pleased with the revaluation, that we did see some growth. And, again, we do have a $3 billion almost $3.6 billion grand list. So I know we'll go talk about the impact during the budget, but I don't know if you have any particular questions on the grand list now that Joe or I could maybe answer.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned that on the motor vehicle side, other towns in the area also saw a similar decrease.
Yep.
Looking at, since we saw the commercial properties increase in value, residential decrease, was that also seen in neighboring towns as well?
Well, I think in general, the residential is in communities like us, I think we're on par. I think in general, statewide, residential has come down. But again, not all of our residential has come down. We have some residential here in town. Again, kind of a general term of our some brand new homes that are very large. Some of them have really increased. Homes maybe in the Highlands and areas like that, they really saw an increase in value too. So, but then other homes have seen very much a decrease in value. Larger homes have a lot of larger homes that aren't brand new have seen some decrease. So again, that's why it's like you can't say X or Y, but I would say in general, I think that we're on par with like communities, but I do think that we're probably ahead of the game with the commercial. We have a really strong commercial base here in Farmington.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other questions? So Kathy, I have a question about the calculator. You mentioned the calculator a few times tonight that's available to the public online on the website.
Yep.
So I just want to make sure the public also understands, and I understand when someone goes in to do that, because I haven't tried it yet, that is based on an estimated change in our budget or the tax change based on what we have. So
Let me ask either Eric or Joe how they set it up. I'm not 100%.
I've used it, if that's helpful.
Oh,
So
did it
when
work?
it worked. When you plug in, you can put in your prior assessed value and your new assessed value, and it will show you the increase in taxes based, or sorry. For mine, it is increasing. It will show you the change in taxes based on both the change in value of the property, but then there's another line item that shows the change in taxes based on the proposed town manager budget. Yeah.
Yes, Edward.
Just following up on a couple things that I had asked for at the last meeting, the priority list of the CIP for each item, as well as that graph that shows the 5-year CIP and its impact on us annually going forward on our debt obligations.
Oh, I didn't realize you needed that tonight, but Joe is working on the debt for tomorrow night, and I have the priority list for tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep, I have that. And the other topic that was, I think, outstanding was the road list.
Oh, yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
Go ahead, Paul.
I'm going back to my high school math days, so I can be backwards here. But for average assessments, average, I know you can have mean, median, or mode. I'm assuming that's the mean that was used to calculate that.
Yes.
If it's not too much trouble, would it be possible to see what it would be if you used the median assessment so that we can see what the percentage increase or decrease is based off of that definition of average?
Well, we can give it a try.
If it's a simple formula change, if
yeah.
it's like, I don't want to redo everything, but if it's just a simple formula change.
Yep. So the median. Yep, we can try that, see what we can do.
Thanks.
No problem.
CJ.
Couple of things. First, I would request, as I did in the past a number of times, showing the change on $100,000 of value. It makes it very simple for people. I know we have the calculator online, but for people who aren't going online.
Yep, I'll do that.
They know what the change is. That's basically the change in the mill rate. So they can see where they are. If they know they went up in their value, they know that went up. Down, it went down. If I did my math correctly, it's a 3 to 4% shift from residential to commercial? 5%? Okay, that's a pretty big shift. Okay.
Bruce.
And I don't know.
Were you done, CJ? Go ahead, Bruce.
I don't know if you have the answer to this, Joe or Kathy. Do we have any percentage of the residential homes that did go down versus going up?
No.
Okay.
We could see, again, we could see what we can manipulate for the data. We could see
So,
if we can do
well,
that, yeah.
the second part to that
Yeah.
question is it possible, because those individuals that might have, their values went up, would it be possible, like and I don't know if this is possible, the calculator be updated to show like if there wasn't a reval happen to see what their net effect change would have been, percentage?
There wasn't a reval, I'm sorry, there wasn't a reval, they used the existing,
Yes,
their taxes go up 2%.
it would go up 2%? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Other questions? Did you?
All right,
Okay.
I just have one last item I just wanted to report on, is 820 Farmington Avenue, the Woodruff Stronghouse, and Nancy and Bruce can chime in. I just wanted to give an update about that, is that, as many of you know, and I think, Bruce, you reported on it at the last meeting, a demolition permit was filed with the Town Planning and Zoning Department on January 19th for 820 Farmington Avenue, the house on Farmington Avenue. Once the demolition permit was filed, the town historian, the president of the Farmington Historical Society, myself, other staff members, we met with officials from the Historic Preservation for Trust and the State Office of Historic Preservation. During that meeting, we were advised that the only avenue that the town could take to save this structure was to negotiate with the property owners. It's a private piece of property. It's not in the historic district. He does have a right to demolish his own private property. After we had that meeting, I convened a group comprised of the vice chair, the chair of the town council, the town historian, the president of the Farmington Historical Society, the chairman of the Historical Commission, Lisa Johnson representing Preservation Now, and staff to kind of meet and see if there was some kind of plan that we could work with the developer to see if we could save the house and also have a development that people in the village everyone would be happy with. So the town staff has been meeting with the property owner, and we've met now 2 times with our group, and we're going to meet again next week. We think we are making some progress about saving the house. The demolition permit is still, he still has a demolition permit out. We are hopeful that with us working with him, he's not going to demolish the house at this point. But again, I just want to make sure that we're clear that it is private property, and while we're working really hard to save the structure, at the end of the day, the developer does have the legal right to demolish the structure. But that said, we are hopeful that we are going to be able to work and save the structure and possibly have a development that he could bring to the TPZ for their consideration. So I don't know if Nancy or Bruce, did you want to add anything else to that? But no, I just wanted to make sure the council was up to date on that.
Yeah, I think it was a good meeting, and I know that I received quite a few calls about if there was anything that we can do. So I'm pleased, Kathy, that we were able to have these conversations, because I think people know Farmington for its historic properties, and this is one piece of property that is significant right smack in the center, and I think it's crucial for us to try to do what we can to try to save the property. So
I think what Lisa said was a good today. It's
Yes.
we're our brand. We do have our brand.
Yep.
So that's really important.
it's on our website. So.
That's right.
Yes, exactly.
And also, just to add, Lisa is a part of that. So it's people like her, the town staff, and people that are coming together to work together to continue to have that historical flavor and value here. It's not just monetary value. It's our value of Farmington and what we think Farmington's all about to be retained. And it's a wonderful working group, and it just shows what we can do when we work together for a goal, common goal. So.
And that's it for my manager's report, I think, right? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
The grants.
I just wanted to correct myself. Asked the question, I gave you the wrong answer. I'll get you the information on if we didn't have the grant, the reval, what the tax rate would be.
Yes.
It's not 2%, it's more than 2%, I'll get you that.
Okay, I appreciate that.
And while we were talking about that, Joe, I was thinking, could we see some indication of what some of the businesses, what would happen with their taxes? I mean, the big businesses, small businesses. I think it's important when we go through the budget to realize that because that change has happened, it means that the businesses are going to be taxed that much more. And I think we really need to take that into consideration when we're thinking about our tax rate, realizing that one of the things that we thrive on is the businesses we have in town. And we need to be really cognizant of that when we're thinking about the taxes and our increases, because it's really going to affect our businesses as well. And the goal is certainly for all of us to do what benefits Farmington, but I think that business aspect is something we really have to think about as well, in addition to the residential. So, thanks, Joe. Okay.
Oh, and Joe, was there any additional street grants from this year that have come in? There's no new news on the report, right? No.
That will be April. So.
Okay, and I don't know how soon you're going to be able to get the information, just the information that Representative D'Amico brought us tonight, but that information to just see what the difference is with the grants, so we can be looking at that as we're moving ahead to, our projection for next year. But
Probably when we go through the revenues, I think it's on Saturday.
Okay.
We have that all available
Okay,
already.
great.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's it.
Can I have a motion to accept the town manager's report, please?
I move to accept the town manager's report.
Second?
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Appointments. Let's go to that.
Do you want Paul to go first or me?
Oh, his is L1,
Yep.
so you go with yours, yep.
Oh,
No.
no,
Oh,
he goes.
I'm sorry.
That's
Okay.
I'm sorry, L1. Go ahead, Paul.
No worries. I move that CJ Thomas be appointed as a member of or liaison to the following entities or committees: Bicycle Advisory Committee, Chamber of Commerce, Stephen A. Fliss Scholarship, Yukon Communication.
Second. Are there any questions or concerns? Okay. Oh,
Well, I just want to say, welcome, CJ.
You're going to be busy now.
Yes.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thank you. Go ahead now.
I have, appointment L-3. I move that Inez St. James be appointed to the Conservation and Inland Wetland Commission as an alternate for a balance of 4 years, term beginning immediately and ending September 30th of 2021.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Agenda item L-4. I move that Ned Stachin be appointed to the Conservation and Inland Wetland Commission, a member for the balance of 4 years, term beginning immediately and ending September 30th of 2018.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
One last one, agenda item L-10. I move that Stephen Cohen be appointed to the Retirement Board for the balance of 2 years, beginning immediately and ending January 2020.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Item number L-12, I move that Kathy Egan be appointed to the Greater Hartford Transit District for the balance of 4-year term beginning immediately and ending June 30th of 2018.
Second.
Any questions? All
Is
those
it-
in, go ahead.
Sorry, is it traditional, Kathy, have you served on this before? I'm just trying to understand who normally serves in this role.
I do.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. And I think that's it for today.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Old business? None? N1.
N1, I move to set the public hearing Monday, April 2nd, 2018 at 7:05 PM in the Town Hall Council Chambers on the Town Council proposed budget for fiscal year 2018-2019.
Second.
Kathy?
This is just our town council's budget, and just to make note that due to charters, it's on Monday night, not Tuesday night.
Any questions? Oh, go ahead.
Any reason why you chose 7:05 as opposed to 7 p.m.?
I just give ourselves a time just to
Okay.
come in, and just in case.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Okay, I move to cancel the March 27th, 2018 Town Council meeting.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Okay, I move that the firm of Bloom, Shapiro and Company, Inc. of West Hartford, Connecticut, be appointed as the town independent auditor for a fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018.
Second.
Kathy?
Per Connecticut general statutes, the town council each year must appoint an independent accounting firm to audit the town's financial records as soon as it to be complete to be completed in the fiscal year. The firm Bloom has been our accounting firm and our auditor since 1994, 1995. In 2017, which was last year, we went out for a bid for requests for proposals to obtain proposals from accounting firms. The town council reviewed the proposals and voted to appoint Bloom to audit the town's financial records ending June 30th, 2017, with the intention of retaining them for an ensuring 4-year period. But however, because of state rules, the appointment must be voted on each year by the town council. The appointment would be for year 2 of a 5-year period, and the cost of the audit is $73,990.
And what is our contract?
Meaning the contract?
With them?
It's a
Contract.
it's a 5-year contract.
So we have a contract with them for 5 years at this point?
We do.
Okay. Questions?
I have a concern. Bloom Shapiro has been our auditor for over 20 years. It's not best management practices to continue to use the same auditor for more than 5 to 7 years. My understanding is auditors get comfortable with town staff gets comfortable with the auditors, and you don't have the same fresh eyes reviewing audit books over time. So I am concerned that Bloom Shapiro has been our auditor for so long. And my recollection is at least one of the people who was here made a comment that he's been here. He's always been the same person doing this work. So they're not even changing within Bloom Shapiro who's doing the work for the town. And while I can appreciate that I have no belief that they have not done a good job for the town, I am concerned that for best practices, it should be a different auditor.
And what was the comment that they were not? That it's been the same person,
It's been-
actually?
Yes, that's my understanding is again, it was just based on a remark that was made while they were here. I
Okay.
don't know.
I think, Joe, I don't think it had been the same actual person.
This last audit, the partner in charge was changed. As a result of last year's RFP process, the partner in charge was shifted from, was changed from Vanessa Rosito to Ron Nossick, who came and did the presentation. The supervising auditor, which was Leslie, gave the presentation. She's been on this audit for about 7 years now. So there was somebody on before her. So there is some change. And then the lower staff always changes. I hate to say it this way, they grind the lower staff. They come in for a couple of years, then they leave, and you get new lower staff. So, your appointment.
Well, I think it's important to note, too, and I know Kathy read it in her, but in 2017, we did an RFP, and we went out and talked to, or had different people come in, and we went through a process of looking for the auditors. If you can speak to that, Joe, I mean, that was something we did outside of the, an RFP with many other.
Madam Chair, can I add to that question?
Sure. Go ahead, Bruce.
I apologize, Joe. I just want to add to that question. So during that RFP process, when you talk about it, can you also talk about how long it took to do that RFP process?
Sure. First of all, I also want to hand this out, and you don't have to read it now. But that's, we subscribe, I think I've mentioned this before. I'm a member of Government Finance Officers Association. We have our best practices, and that's Government Finance Officers Association best practice. And it does coincide with what was mentioned here by Councilwoman Williams, Boyd Williams. But it also highlights one of the problems you have is that you can't always find auditors. So we go out every 5 years on this for an audit. There's not a lot of firms in the state of Connecticut that do municipal auditing. None of the big firms do municipal auditing. Bloom's probably the largest firm that does municipal auditing. There are smaller firms, and a lot of them are regionally located. We went out 10 years. We went out in 2012. To give you an example, we received 6 proposals, and the council at that time chose to stay with Bloom Shapiro. We went out last year, and we received 2 proposals. And a lot of times that's a result of, one, what the workload is in those firms and whether they're interested in picking up clients. So it could be cyclical. I could go out, next year and get another 6 firms again. It depends upon how you hit the market and who else is out there looking for firms. 169 towns being audited. Some towns get the local company to do it. Other towns, they go for obviously the named firms that are big into municipal auditing. The process, usually what will happen is we would advertise this, we would leave it open to accept proposals approximately about a month. Then at that point, we would compile the proposals, we would turn them over to the council, and it's up to the council how they would like to proceed, and it's been different. 10 years ago, the council selected a committee to make the choice. Actually, Nancy was on the committee 10 years ago.
A council committee.
The council committee.
Yeah.
Council
Right.
committee, along with, I believe it was John Vibert. Last year, the council decided amongst the council, when we turned over the proposals to them, to just continue with Bloom Shapiro. So it depends how detailed you go into your review once we receive the proposals back. And then there's a negotiation process. It's not really formal. It's not a big negotiation process, but you would officially have to, at one of your council meetings, then the full council would have to vote to appoint them. The whole thing would probably, again, depending upon how, if you want to have interviews with the firms, or do a short list, do interviews, it could go another 6 weeks beyond that. So you could be into the end of May, before you make your appointment. I would, figuring out, you'd probably be making your appointment your first meeting in June, at this point. Last year, I think the thing last year what the council said, and actually Bloom did follow up on it, the council did express some concern that we did have the same partner in charge. We did explain that to to Bloom Shapiro when when we notified them they were reappointed, and they did change their partner in charge to somebody else, to Ron, as opposed to Vanessa. So,
CJ?
I would think this would be something ideal to put on our strategic plan so we can address it this year, keep them throughout the year. We don't have to disrupt things right now, and we can have those discussions, and then we'll have a year to basically review it. That would seem what we normally do on the strategic plan when we set our goals.
One of the things is, again, I'm neutral because I understand what you're saying about that, but one of the things where I like what CJ just said is that it's, again, when we haven't looked at the workload altogether of what everyone's doing, and so when we have the strategic planning process, that if you do that and you say we want to have new auditors, then we can look at weighing that, because it's not about getting the auditors. I mean, it's time. The council, you guys are going to be having subcommittees in May, and if you want your other things, it's, again, a workload for the council, some of these different things, interviews, more meetings, which is fine. But the bigger issue, my concern would be, is that, and it's part of Patty's point, is that when you do get a new auditor, they are brand new to the whole system, and that makes a tremendous different amount of workload for the entire finance department, getting them up to speed. And that's not a bad thing, but I think the council needs to look at, I have not heard if there's any other objectives of the council that may take the workload of the finance director. And then if that's the case, I think you all should be weighing what is the priority of that. The other issue is that because we're in this right now to do it, we haven't had any time to prepare, and we, by law, have to have our audits done, and we're bringing in a brand-new firm, and that's why I also like the idea that if we're going to do that, we have a little bit more time to plan for it and get geared up for it. But again, it's your appointment. We absolutely can do an RFP. We have an RFP ready, and we can go through the process and see what happens. So it's really, again, it's your decision. But I just caution that when we haven't looked at, again, what other projects, ideas you guys have, that, again, getting a brand new auditor after a certain amount of time, if that's your top priority, because it is going to wind up being a very big priority for the finance department, to make sure that they are familiar with everything, and it's, auditors are here a large portion of, blocks of time, so.
Right, and just give you an idea of the time frame that's involved with an audit. Usually, the auditors, whoever they are, will come in and do preliminary work during the spring in anticipation of coming back again either in the summer or the fall to do the final audit. So we actually would be at this point scheduling, have to have the auditors come in either in April or May to start to do their work for a week and a half or so. Then they'll leave, and then they'll come back sometime in September, October for another couple of weeks to finish up their work. So we'd be a little tight on that in that frame. It's not impossible to do, but it does back up the whole schedule as to what doing it. Most of the people, or most of the towns, I think there's only one town right now that has an RFP out. Most of the towns that are going out to RFP have completed that process and made their selections.
Other questions?
Madam
Paul?
Two quick questions. So when you say we have a 5-year contract, this is year 2 of it, but we vote on it every year as a council, is there, if we were to break that 5-year contract, is there a direct cost that we would face? So there's no direct cost? And
No,
then-
the way we do the proposal is, we don't do it, it's technically not a 5-year contract. What we do is we do a contract that is renewable every year. But
Okay.
we ask them for a 5-year cost. And
So they lock in their
we
rates
lock
for 5 years?
Right. We
Okay.
lock in the rates for 5 years, or the rate increase for 5 years. And then we renew it every year.
Commit 1 year at a time. And then the second question is, for the startup costs, if someone new came in, but I mean, ballpark, like instead of 74,000, would it be like 80,000, 100,000? I mean, any idea what that delta would be?
It could be all over. The last year, the auditor, the other auditing firm that proposed was about $500 to $600 a year less than this, than Bloom.
Less, okay.
10 years ago when we did this, Bloom was the lowest one. Everybody was higher, and they could range. And again, it depends on the amount of work they have in place. A lot of times what you'll get is you'll get a firm that'll propose, but they'll propose at a high number with no intention of taking the job. In other words, you'll get somebody, their number is right. It's a $70,000 or $75,000 a year job based on the volume of transactions and the dollar value of our budget. So you'll get a firm that'll propose $110,000, and they're not doing it because they want the job necessarily. They just want to make sure you have their name, so that in the future when you go out and they do need work, you
reach out to them.
You reach out to them.
Gotcha.
So the short answer is the numbers could vary all over the place, depending upon who has work now and who doesn't have work.
Thanks.
Thank you. Go ahead, Patty.
Thanks. Joe, I'm experienced with the environmental consulting world and the legal world, and the partner in charge never comes on site. In this, is it different with auditors, or is the partner in what's the role of the partner in charge?
They'll come out for, again, in the spring when they come out for their week and a half, they'll be out here 2 to 3 days. And then when they come out for their 10 days, a week and a half to 10 days in the fall, they'll be out here for about 4 days. But they're also the ones who do the final review on the audit. Once it goes back and it goes to review, they're the ones who sign off on it. So they have to do all the review, and they'll do all the follow-up on it. You're right. The staff does most of the work, the grunt work, if you will. But they're the ones who have to sign off on everything. They'll question everything. So they'll be out here probably a third of the time.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Bruce.
I'll just add just some more questions here. Sorry, Joe. So, if we did go back out to RFP process, and I know that it would put us behind the 8 ball, and potentially could increase costs in terms of doing that, what is a typical timeline if we did have to go through, and it may be going through our strategic plan, but I know we're going to be voting on this, and I kind of would like to know some of those answers before we go in. So typically, if we did go out to RFP, when would we normally do that?
January.
January.
Right.
So
What we would do is, they complete their audit report in, by December 31st. By law, the audit has to be submitted to the state of Connecticut by December 31st. So at that point, their only obligation to us at that point is to come back and do their presentation to the council. So at that point, once the audit is submitted to the state of Connecticut, then we go through the RFP process. Last year we did it, I think last year we did it, and actually, yeah, they were due on January 25th last year. The council made the appointment in March. So 10 years ago when we did it, they were due, I think, the beginning of February, and council made the appointment. Actually, I think that year, council made the appointment in April because they did the review process, the committee and stuff.
got it. And then my last question is if this did happen, how long does a typical audit take? And I know that we've been working with Bloom, and I know you gave me, like, they come in for a month or two, and then they leave and do their analysis and come
They
back.
come in for, they'll come in preliminarily sometime in April, May, or June for a week to 10 days. And then they'll come back again, depending upon when we schedule them. They'd come back in either September or October for another week to 10 days. And that's what they call their field work. Once their field work is completed, they basically take another month to 6 weeks to generate a draft report, and then to finalize that report and submit it to the state of Connecticut. So to give you an example, last year, they came out the third week of October. They were here for about 7 days, and they delivered their final product to us, December 27th, I think it was. So, I mean, obviously, they're doing other reports for other towns, too, so we're in that queue with other towns when you get to the end, you know, the typing pool or whatever, the proofing pool and the typing pool, so, but the actual field work was completed in October, and then they basically worked on the report for probably another 5 weeks before it went into draft and then into final. So,
And I was trying to do the math in my head a little bit. So would you comfortably say between beginning, whoever it is, taking out the RFP process, if they started the audit and completed it, it's about a 3-month time period for them to do their field work, do their analysis, and make sure that they meet the state deadline?
yes, it's probably a 2.5 to 3.5 month process.
Got it. Thank you.
I'd like to just suggest that we move this forward today, but we talk about this during our strategic plan. I think we're hearing that, you know, we want to look at some things and talk about it, but I would suggest that with everything moving forward right now, rather than take the time out of Joe and Kathy, and that we move this forward. We're not unhappy with them, but the idea that we want to, if we do want to look out at this, we do it during the strategic plan, as you suggested, CJ, you know, and talk about what the time element's going to be. I think when we do the strategic plan, we're really going to see and get an idea of what all the different pieces, the time that it takes for Joe's staff and for Kathy's staff and Joe to do that. So I think I'd ask that we think about that today, and then we do that. And it seems as though the time frame would then be a good time frame to do it in January if we decide to do that and give them the time. But it won't be a crunch during budget for them to have to look for somebody else at this time. So go ahead, Beth.
Yeah, I think I'm basically in agreement with it. I think it looks,
Excuse me.
It just doesn't look, I think it's more complicated now that we've had a chance to discuss it and ask questions, but it just that 94, 95 date and being with the same firm, it's kind of glaring. And to the public too, and I think we want to be careful about that, but again, it's more complicated than just deciding on someone else and hiring them. So we want to take into account workload and time frame and time of the year and all of that. And coming up on strategic plan.
Yeah, and I think too, the idea as far as the public is concerned and looking how it looks to the public, the fact is if we did not go out and have an RFP and ask for this information and have a committee as we did 10 years ago and have the council talking about it with RFPs, then that would be absolutely abominable not to do that. But the fact that we're going out and asking for RFPs and looking into other companies, I mean, we're not sitting back without doing that and looking to see who could better serve us or changing that. So, you know, I feel we've gone through the process in an open forum and way in the past, but I appreciate that comment.
You know, and the timing actually it would be much better for January, where you would normally do it. So if we had that if you decided when we did our strategic plan that was a goal, then we would be gearing up, and it would be perfect timing for getting ready for January, and we'd have it under the normal time frame and things like that, which I do think is again just a better process, because again during the budget season and doing usually our should be our top priority is making sure that we're doing the budget. And so really going out for RFPs and getting committees set up and doing an audit would be difficult. Not impossible, but it would be difficult.
Other questions? Go ahead.
It's more a comment than a question, and I'm right now actually struggling with which way I want to vote because I hear everything that Kathy and Joe is saying. I appreciate the time crunch and the structure, and I think the strategic plan that CJ brought up is a really good option. I'm just not sure if it's the way I want to go, but I appreciate the discussion that's being had. But I'm concerned about 20 years with the same audit company. So, and I think it's a big concern for me.
Other questions? CJ?
I'll address that because I appreciate that concern. Because anytime you see the reliance upon one group for that amount of time, you want to make sure you're doing everything you can to look into it. And what we're here for is to make the public comfortable with the finances we're dealing with how we run the town, and we want them to be comfortable with all these decisions. So I really do appreciate the fact that you brought that up. One of the other things we haven't discussed in talking about a time crunch is we're talking about going through the budget season once. Unfortunately, it's always possible that you go through that more than once, and then we're really kind of behind the eight ball. So it just does give us more flexibility, but we are, I think, it's something that's good to be brought up. I appreciate you doing that.
Other comment? Edward?
I think there's more, I guess, a question for you, Nancy, since you were in the council last year. In the RFP process last year, I guess what was kind of like the consensus of the council and why you guys decided to stay with Bloom Shapiro? Were some of the other auditors lacking in certain areas, or was there a cost difference that you were taking into consideration?
Well, there were only two, and
Right.
the cost difference was $500. So it wasn't a cost difference. I think it was the comfort level, and we felt secure with Bloom Shapiro. They've done a good job in the past with us, and we wanted to move forward with them. And I think that's the other thing that we need to take into consideration. It's not change because we need to do change. If we need to look into the process and other companies, but if we're happy with one and they've served us well, then to me, there's not a reason to change just because we need to have someone else. And there were two firms, and we were happy with Bloom Shapiro. So I think the other thing was that we made a point to say we think there should be some change within, and they accommodated that.
Right.
So I think that was a big thing that, as Joe said, that was addressed specifically to them, saying we think that it's good to have fresh eyes, just as you're talking about, Patty. And I think they heard loud and clear that that was a concern, and we're willing to take that on and do that for us. So I think there was kind of a give and take with that process as well. So, and the comfort level and them recognizing what we felt was important and that change was. So, Joe, you can add to that.
I think that's pretty much it.
Is there sorry.
Go ahead.
Sure. Is there anything we can do to, because you said I don't remember her name, but the woman who was here had been doing it 5 to 7
Leslie.
Leslie, thank you. Is there anything we can do to ensure that either the other staff that's coming to do it, that we have additional fresh eyes? Can we work with Bloom Shapiro on that, or is having the partner in charge enough in your?
I could request that they put a new supervising accountant on it, auditor on it. There's no guarantee they'll do that, but I could request that and see what comes back. And I should probably make one thing clear. They don't work for me or Kathy. They work for you.
Mm-hmm.
So they're actually there to make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And the other thing I should make clear, and you, I don't know if it probably wasn't obvious when they did come here. We don't get along. So, so if you, I could sit here and say yes, please, please change them. But they're not here to be my friend. They're here to obviously make me look, make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. There's no comfort level, believe me. And the other thing I would point out to you is even though this thing I handed out to you, this paper says that private practice, they change their auditors a lot. We look at annual reports all the time. The town's pension plan owns stock, and we get the annual reports from major companies. And if you think we're bad, some of these big 8 firms have been auditing major companies for 50 years. So, I could appreciate your concern that it's been 30 years or 20 years. about it, but I'm not condoning, I'm not saying it's a great thing. It's your appointment, you could do it whatever you want, but, you know, other people do it, other corporations do it, and they've been doing it a lot longer than we've been doing it. One of the problems is what's, like it says in the articles, sometimes you can't just find another company out there, and you start get that comfort level. And there's nothing to say, if you change to another firm, that you won't be having the same discussion 10 years from now, saying, you know, we've had this company for 10 years, why? You know, so.
I think that that's a really good suggestion, though, Patty, if you can suggest that, Joe, at this point. And I think it's important, too, to suggest it in that we're not doing this because we think they're doing a poor job. We're doing this with your conversation, that it's fresh eyes, just another look. And I think that's, if the council agrees, you know, I think that's kind of the way we think we'd like to go. Of course, there's no guarantee, but
Right.
maybe to express that the council's concern was just to have some fresh eyes and look, so.
Okay, I'll offer that to them, or ask them to do that.
Okay, CJ, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to bring up a point of reference in private industry. The Motion Picture Academy has had their accountants far longer than we have.
They messed up last year.
Okay, other comments, discussion? I'm good. Okay, all right. All in favor of N3, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, good, thank you. N4,
I move to accept the attached annual report.
Second.
This is our annual report that we do every year. One of the things that I just wanted, it is somewhat confusing, so I just wanted to make sure people realize, is that the annual report is a year behind. So sometimes, and it's difficult sometimes when you read it because it's that things have already happened. So you're reporting, when we're actually doing it, we're reporting on things that already happened and saying it's going to happen. So anyway, but this is our document that we do put together. Deb in my office is in charge of it, and she's very proud of talking about history, of really trying to find new pictures for the front of some of Farmington's history. And this in the front is the Lions Pool in Unionville, and I thought it was a cool cover to the annual report. But there's a lot of information from all the departments, and we give this out at the annual town meeting also.
yeah, I just want to comment. I love the pictures always. It's
Yeah.
always fun to see. It's always different pictures and historic pictures that are very fun. And it's a variety of different places in town and different sections. And so anyway, it's really a fun. And I just want to thank you. This report is amazing, and it's really fun to read and to see what we're doing in town and what we're all about. And I just think this is a great report for the community to look at and read and see all the things that go on. And just some of the information is it's great. So anyway, any questions or comments? Anything?
A fun game to play is find the town manager's picture in here. Multiple places.
Question, Madam Chair. So Kathy, I heard you mention, or maybe it was Nancy, you give these out at the annual town meeting.
Yep.
And then is that pretty much the only way they're distributed?
We-
They're probably on the table.
They're on the table, they're in the lobby. We try to give them out as much as we can.
Well-
And they're on the webpage, and that
Okay.
we do bring them over to the senior center and some different places so people can pick them up and, look at them. And it is neat. We do have their history. We do an annual report, and it's kind of neat that they go back. I think they're still in the town clerk's office in the vault, and, so, but we do try to give them out as much as possible to have people be able to see them.
So members of other community groups, if they wanted to give them to their membership, can contact your office?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
I move that the pursuant to Section 55-10 of the Town of Farmington Purchasing Ordinance, the bidding requirement under Section 55-1 be waived so the police department may contract with Milo Range Training System to acquire a interactive range firearm training similar at the cost of $54,990.
Second.
Kathy?
The police department in their capital budget have $55,000 for researching firearms training simulation system to be used for police officers as part of their training routine system. What we're asking today is that we were not able to go out to bid for this because there's not a lot of people or anyone that has the system that we want. So by ordinance, the council can waive the bidding of this item, and so that's what we're asking.
Questions?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I have a point of clarification. In the note on the motion, it said because it exceeds $50,000, but the ordinance is actually if it exceeds $25,000?
Yeah, this may be a little bit confusing.
Okay.
By ordinance and by our purchasing, the only bids that the council approve are over $50,000. That doesn't mean we don't go out to bid. We go out to bid for everything over, I think we just updated the purchasing. I think it's $25,000 that we have to go out to bid. But I'm able to approve those bids. They don't come to the council. Anything over $50,000 is bidded and comes to the council for approval. Anything under $50,000 it's bidded and I can approve it.
Okay. And a follow-up question, is this Milo range training systems, is it the only one that's available? Are there other options? What's?
Let me ask Joe or Erica because they worked on this with the chief. Erica, do you know?
I mean, the simple answer, I think it does say there are other systems available, but this is the system that best matches our needs and our budget. Right.
Question. Go ahead, Bruce.
I think I have two questions. This system, do we know exactly what it's doing? Because I think you made a comment, Kathy, that it's the only one that no other towns is using it. And I'm curious, like, what is it doing? Is it doing like home invasion? Is it doing car chasing? What is it actually? What are they looking to do?
Okay, I think Erica knows that answer too.
This is a simulator. I mean, in some ways, think of it as a virtual reality machine, right? And the guys can go in there and girls can go in there and do live action training. It's one thing to go down to the range and shoot to a target. That's easy, right? But let's do it in real life. And this gets us to be able to do it in real life. And the firearms instructor is with them. They assess them. They can evaluate them. Obviously, in the last decades, we've had a lot of use of force issues throughout the country. Police officers are under a tight microscope. This is something that's going to be able to allow them to have advanced training, up-to-date training that happens in our building in real life kind of scenarios, and we can assess them with that.
Okay, and I don't know if this is what we were referencing to, but so no other towns around Farmington have something similar to?
I don't know if I'm not sure if that's exactly the case.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
I think it did.
Yeah, I can't say who has it and who doesn't have it. I'm possibly some of the other larger cities I would assume might have it, but I can't answer that specifically.
Okay. And the only reason why I bring that up is I'm just wondering, because I know we work so well with the West Hartford Police Department and other police departments in our community, and is this something that we could share with other communities rather than taking the burden on our own costs? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I think, anything is always possible, right? So this is something that's technically supposed to be portable, but there's actually a wiring component that makes it not that, you have to have it in one set place. People that have them put them in one set place. Like I said, a fire instructor comes in, it's, our plan in Farmington was to have, as the guys are working, they come in, they do it. They don't have to, come in on special time for training. Could another town come in? Probably somebody close by, like maybe West Hartford, though they're larger than us, like Avon, obviously Canton has 9 officers. Maybe they could come in and do it. Have we approached them for that? Is there a fee structure for that? Anything like that set up? No, but if it's something that, was, we wanted to look at, we definitely could.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. And 6.
I move to schedule a regular town council meeting on Tuesday, May 15th, 2018, and Tuesday, May 29th, 2018, at 7 p.m. in the town council chambers.
Second.
Discussion.
So I spoke at my manager's report. So the 15th would be a new meeting. We have a regularly scheduled 22nd meeting. That's our second May meeting of the month. And then the 29th would be the third meeting. So it would be the 3 meetings. And we'd actually have 4 because we'd have our regular May meeting too. So you'd have our regular May meeting at the first Tuesday of the month. Then we do the joint one. Then we'd have the May 22nd, which is our already scheduled one, and then we'd have the May 29th.
Right. And this would be in, Kathy, you talking to the Board of Ed to see
Yep.
about their meeting with us at
We
that point?
coordinated, we talked to the Board of Education, and my understanding is that the May 15th date worked for them.
Okay. Comments, questions? Okay. And I just want to make a point to say again that this is one of the things, obviously this is for strategic plans, but one of the things that we're going to be discussing and highlighting here is the high school. So in discussions, we all know that people are talking to us all the time about the high school and addressing the needs. And this is specifically to talk about that and future, future plans. So I just want to make that clear. Okay. All those in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry, Paul.
Sorry,
Go
I
ahead.
just thought of it. Beth had a good idea, I think it was the last meeting, about maybe doing one of these workshops at the high school. Is that you, Beth?
Oh.
Any meeting.
Any meeting,
really.
just to see it.
Get us out to all the facilities, but it might work well with, given what's,
Would that May 15th be a good opportunity to do that, or is
I
that
think
something?
we could talk about that
something
with the
people wanna
Board of
talk
Ed.
about?
I think, actually, if we Tuesday, May 15th, and that we did it at the town hall, Paula, maybe you can help me with the logistics here, because we're setting it at the council chambers. I think the one with the Board of Education, we'd be at the high school, and they are geared up to do meetings up there. So
Oh.
I think that would be a good one if we maybe
The
change
15th?
the 15th, and we change it
Yeah,
now.
change it now.
Change it
Okay.
now to do it up at the board, at the high school.
You're going to amend the motion.
Yeah.
So that the May 15th meeting, we would right now put that down as doing it at the high school. Yeah, they're set up with the logistics of all of the cameras and the mics and all that
Yeah.
in
And
the
so-
library.
and so being there, could we incorporate a tour?
A tour? Well, we can, I would
And
think that's a good
At this point,
idea.
it doesn't seem so much about the roof, although maybe that
No.
would be a part of it, but
Well-
just a overall facility tour, similar to what the public.
So maybe
last
what,
year.
and maybe what we would do is, this says 7 o'clock, that would be the meeting. What we could try to do is see if we could meet at like 6 to go through the high school, to do.
Schedule another meeting.
We still have time. I could
Okay.
put that on the next agenda.
Oh,
That we
okay.
have just set a 6 o'clock special meeting or something.
Okay.
I mean, 6, we still have time,
Okay,
so I could do
good.
that.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
talk to them about that.
Okay.
Good.
So amend my motion?
No, she doesn't, you don't want us to now.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
for the place,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
but not the time. Okay.
So I'm going to make an amendment to the town council meetings that are scheduled for May 15th, 2018. The location will be at the Farmington High School.
So,
Second.
okay, so we'll first vote on the amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions. Okay, now we're voting on the main motion.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. Okay, great. Thank you. Next.
Okay. I move to schedule the town council meeting, if needed, on Friday, April 27, 2018, in the Town Hall Chambers, at 4 p.m. to approve the town council's 2017-2018 second recommended budget.
Second.
And we certainly hope we don't have to do that.
Shouldn't it be 18, 19?
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
18, 19
yep.
for the budget.
Yeah,
Yep.
sorry.
18, 19.
Yep, sorry.
I didn't catch that, sorry.
Okay. Good you did know.
As you know, the referendum would be on Thursday, and if the referendum fails, the reason we have to meet on Friday, because the next town meeting is Monday. So that's why you have to go on the Friday. So that's the reasoning
Yes.
behind that.
And it's a real scramble to get, and then to get the presentation together. We did have to do that.
Yeah.
It is a scramble. But anyway, okay. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. Okay, and 8.
I move to approve the following property taxes, the totaling of $453,769.19.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great.
And
We have
And-
N9.
And
Yep.
nine.
Oh, nine, yep, sorry.
I move to set the public hearing on April 2nd, 2018 at 7:30 PM in the Town Council Chamber of Commerce, Town Council Chambers to discuss the fiscal year 2018 Community Department Block Grant Program and to solicit citizens' input.
Second.
Nancy, a parent in our community and recreation, was approached by New Horizons about the Housing Authority for the town applying for a small cities block grant on their behalf. New Horizons been actively working with an architect to prepare documents for several projects to rehab and update their facility, including major sidewalk repairs and site renovations. Over the past month, Nancy and her staff have been working on compiling all the data to submit an application in mid-April. As part of the process, the town council would hold a public hearing and then authorize the town me to sign an application. I think this is a great project for New Horizons, and we have not applied for a community block grant in some time, so I think depending on, I think that they really be a good applicant and us applying on their behalf for it. So Nancy and I had talked about it earlier in the year, and I thought this was a great project for the Housing Authority and the staff. So it would be to have a public hearing, and then I would sign the grant later on.
Questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
And there's no executive session tonight.
Oh, there isn't?
No.
Okay.
Okay, then we move to adjourn. Motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, we'll see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock.